Revealed, 25 heartwarming lessons from ancient Rome that will change your life forever. Clara Peterson never imagined that a dusty old book could change everything. As the 34-year-old single mother and the heart of Peterson's pastries, she had always known that the sweet smell of bread, cakes, and pastries could wrap people in warmth. Amidst the fading charm of Maplewood, where life hung heavy with bills and bitter times, the beloved bakery stood resolutely, like a beacon of hope. Yet, as Clara looked around at her 16-year-old son, Jake, she felt the weight of worry dragging her down. Their struggles were palpable: the mounting bills and the encroaching shadow of Nathaniel, the slick owner of a booming big-box bakery chain. Just thinking about his smirk made Clara clench her fists. He saw them as nothing more than a nuisance, someone to be pushed aside. The thought left her breathless: how could they possibly fight against such might? Then, as chance would have it, Clara stumbled upon a forgotten treasure in her grandfather's attic, an old, dusty book brimming with ancient Roman lessons. As she read the faded ink, tears pooled in her eyes. Each lesson resonated with her soul. The Romans believed in resilience, unity, and the strength of community. Could these long-lost teachings ignite a spark within her? Fueled by hope, Clara embraced the lessons, attempting to revitalize the bakery. She introduced Roman Saturdays, with dishes inspired by the ancient recipes, imbuing them with love. Yet, the townsfolk looked on skeptically, brought low by years of hardship. Only Jake seemed to light up, believing in his mother's vision. But between him and Clara lay unspoken words and misunderstood dreams. He yearned to become a musician, while she fought desperately for their livelihood. Their connection felt tenuous, like a delicate pastry on the brink of collapse. Just as Clara believed the tide was starting to turn, tragedy struck. In a moment's blink, a faulty oven erupted into flames that engulfed their sanctuary. Flames danced wildly, licking at memories and dreams, threatening to close their doors forever. Panic surged through her, tightening in her chest as she grabbed Jake's hand. Yet, in the depths of despair, something remarkable happened. Neighbors rallied around them, embodying the true spirit that Clara's grandfather had always cherished. They volunteered, bringing flour, eggs, and their love. As Clara stood amidst this chaotic outpouring of support, her heart swelled. These weren't just customers, they were family. The very definition of unity her grandfather had preached. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Clara recalibrated her mission, she faced a pivotal moment when betrayal from someone she trusted cut deep, exposing the biases still native to Maplewood. Flames of anger burned bright alongside her grief. And just like that, her battle became larger than saving the bakery. It morphed into a fight against the prejudice running through their community. In a climactic town hall meeting, Clara stood, heart racing, voice trembling. Her words poured out, a heartfelt plea against the skepticism blanketing their town. With every gaze fixed on her, she could almost feel the weight of their biases in the air. Together, we can rise, she implored, igniting glimmers of hope. But then, a voice from the back sneered, dragging doubt back into the room. Clara's heart raced. Could she truly rally her hometown to stand against not just corporate greed, but against the social rift tearing them apart? It was a fight worth waging. Would she find the courage to bridge the gap? The room buzzed with murmurs, skepticism hanging in the air like heavy smoke. Clara felt the weight of every gaze, their eyes a blend of pity and doubt. She swallowed hard, emotion pooling in her throat. Was she strong enough? The thought flared like a candle in the darkness. Jake stood by her side, casting her a look that seemed to say, "You've got this, Mom." It was a small gesture, yet it ignited a flicker of confidence within her. She took a breath, grounding herself in the rich aromas of flour and sugar that once filled their bakery. Then Clara leaned in, voice steadying. "I know many of you have your doubts about us, about me." She paused, glancing at Nathaniel across the room. His smug grin twisted her stomach. "But we are Maplewood. We are not just a collection of businesses and customers, we are a community. We've always been stronger together." A few heads nodded. She felt a surge of hope, but the sneering voice chimed in again, sharper this time, "And what can a failing bakery teach us about success?" The crowd stirred and whispers arose. Clara clenched her fists, feeling a surge of anger, but instead of lashing out, she let the fire transform into determination. "Everything." Her voice rang strong, a bell of defiance. "Success isn't just about profit margins. It's about passion, about sweat and love baked into every piece of bread or pastry we sell. It's about standing together when the heat gets turned up." She gestured to the townspeople behind her who had come to support her, who had rushed in with supplies and encouragement when the flames nearly consumed their dreams. 19 families fed their children with the bread we baked together. The murmurs quieted, replaced by an attentive silence. For a moment, she thought she might have broken through the thick wall of doubt. Ancient Rome taught us unity. It showed us that in hard times, we must band together or risk losing everything. I was given a chance to read these ancient wisdoms. What if we put them to practice right here in Maplewood? Jake stepped forward, emboldened. "My mom's not just fighting for the bakery. She's fighting for all of us, for a community we can trust again. How many of you want to give up on our town? On each other?" Eyes flicked around the room, some softening, some still skeptical. Clara sensed a shift. The air buzzed with curiosity. She took a step closer, locking eyes with a few familiar faces. "If you believe we can overcome the distance and distrust between us, if you believe in the power of love like I do, help us today. Join us. Let us remember why we opened shop, why we bake, why we care." A stirring of agreement swept through the room. Heartbeats echoed like drumlines, and for the first time that night, she could see conflicted expressions transform into contemplation. A soft murmur of maybe floated up. But then, without warning, the doors swung open, letting in a blast of cold air. Nathaniel strode in, flanked by a couple of his business partners, their presence a stark reminder of everything Clara wanted to keep at bay. "Let us not forget the reality. This community needs a leader, something bold and fresh like Kingsbury Bakery." His arrogance dripped from every word, suffocating the hopeful energy Clara had woven. "Do you really think that's what we need? A slick marketing campaign?" Clara shot back, her heart pounding in her chest. A challenge hung between them, sharp and electric. The crowd sensed the tension, roused from their thoughts by the confrontation. Clara's mind raced with questions. How could she possibly compete with someone who wielded money like a sword, ready to slice through dreams? As Nathaniel smirked, it was hard to shake the feeling of dread creeping back in. But amidst that uncertainty, the flicker of hope remained, the warmth created by a community thousands of years old. Could they rally together in this fight? Clara inhaled deeply, preparing for her next move. The battle wasn't only for the bakery anymore, this was for a revival of their community spirit. But was she truly ready to face the man who embodied everything she stood against? Her heart raced. This was just the beginning. Would they unite or shatter under pressure? The answer loomed ahead like the first light of dawn. Clara's mind swirled, the weight of Nathaniel's challenge heavy on her shoulders. She could feel the energy of the room shift, and for a moment, she feared she might falter. But she took another breath, steadying herself. This was more than just a fight for her bakery, it was a fight for their home, their stories, and the essence of what made Maplewood special. "What we need is authenticity," Clara cried, pushing against the looming shadows of doubt. "Not just flashy slogans and empty promises. We need to remember our roots." She glanced around the room again, hoping to catch the spark of solidarity in the faces staring back at her. When everyone turns their backs on you, that's when you find out who really stands with you. A ripple of murmurs passed through the crowd, some faces lighting up as old memories stirred. Clara could almost hear the laughter of children savoring pastries fresh from the oven, feel the warmth of the community gatherings held in their little bakery. This wasn't merely about bread, it was about a life woven tightly among neighbors, woven through joy and shared struggles. Nathaniel snickered, rolling his eyes. Roots are nice, Clara, but who's going to pay the bills with memories? You need innovation to survive, something your bakery sorely lacks. Clara's heart sank, but the surge of passion inside her refused to let her back down. Innovation doesn't have to erase who we are. We can marry the past with the future. Why can't we embrace technology while keeping our traditions intact? She steadied her voice. Let us use our history to build a stronger future together. The crowd shifted again, with murmurs of agreement beginning to bubble up. Clara seized the moment, her voice rising with fervor. Remember that Saturday market? The way we would line the streets, selling not just products, but laughter and love? People came together not just to shop but to bond as a community. We can do it again. Fine words, Clara, Nathaniel retorted, crossing his arms smugly. But can you actually deliver? And that's the beauty of it, Nathaniel. I don't have to do it alone. We're all in this together. Clara gestured broadly to the townspeople, her heart thundering, fueled by the collective energy pulsing through the room. If you're with me, stand up. Show him what Maplewood looks like when we unite. Slowly but surely, people began to rise. One by one, they stood, a sea of familiar faces who had gathered around her counter countless times before, each of them offering their strength where she felt weak. Jake beamed proudly, raising his hand above his head. Let us show them what we're made of. The room erupted in supportive cheers and claps. Clara's heart soared as she felt the warmth of her community back her up. Every fear, every shred of doubt, began to disintegrate. Outside the growing storm of voices chanting their support for her, she caught Nathaniel's disdainful sneer, but it felt weak against the united front rising. You think this is a game? Nathaniel shouted over the noise, his voice strained. You're moving backward, Clara. It won't work. You will fail. Clara took a step forward, this time planted firmly with conviction. Not if we're together. Not if we remember the strength we have in this community. We will adapt, we will innovate, but we will never forget who we are. The clamor grew louder, filling the room with buoyant energy. Clara could feel the buzz of determination all around her. She could hardly believe it. But suddenly, just as she felt like she could breathe again, a new voice emerged from the back. And what if that's not enough? The question hung in the air like an unwelcome guest. Clara turned, catching sight of a woman she recognized from her years at the bakery, the doubt apparent in her eyes. What if we unite firmly and it all falls apart? What if we try and still lose everything? The silence that followed felt ominous, yet it cracked open the door to deeper truths, the very questions Clara secretly feared but had pushed aside to rally the troops. As uncertainty fluttered in the room, Clara felt her heart quicken once again. This was going to demand more than just passion, it would require a true unraveling of their fears, their hopes, and trust. Could they forge ahead together, even in the shadow of failure? Determined to rise to the challenge, Clara turned back to Nathaniel, ready to face not just him, but the doubts swirling within her own heart. Maybe, she began, her voice unwavering, maybe it's not about us having all the answers, but about our willingness to find them. Will you stand with us? A collective intake of breath encircled the room as anticipation pulsed in every chest, waiting to hear the answer. The room held its breath, a stillness that was almost tangible. Clara's gaze darted around, searching for what she hoped would be a sign of affirmation from the townsfolk. Faces were enmeshed with mixed emotions, each heartbeat echoing like thunder in her ears. She couldn't shake the feeling that their unity, this foundation she was building, hinged delicately on each person's choice to stand together. Then a hand raised in the back. Mary, the elderly woman known for her cherished recipes. Clara's heart felt a strange mix of hope and fear as Mary slowly stood, her frail frame shaking slightly. "Clara, sweet girl," she began, her voice soft but unwavering, "I remember when your bakery was just a modest shop. We didn't have grand objects or shiny displays, but we had love. That's what brought us here." Clara's chest tightened at the memory of where they all came from. She nodded, ready to drink in every word. "But what happens when love can't pay the bills?" Mary pressed on, her eyes glimmering with fierce resolve. "What happens when heartbreak comes knocking at the door and we have nothing but memories?" Clara felt the weight of doubt circle back around her like a winter chill. What if she murmured, words barely escaping her lips? She gripped the edge of the podium tightly, feeling the pulse of the wooden surface against her palms. What if this isn't about fear? What if it's about having the courage to fail together? A ripple of whispers cascaded through the crowd, the weight of Clara's words settling over them like a blanket. She watched people shifting, processing, ruminating on the truth in that moment. Finally, Jake stepped forward again, his confidence radiating. "You know what? We've seen hardships before, and it's never pushed us apart. It's made us stronger. We can't just throw away history for fear of the future. If Clara's with us, then I say we're already stronger together." Cheers erupted once more, lifting the anxiety that had settled earlier. Clara felt her spirit swell as one voice led to another. Each person's affirmation, every cheer lifted her higher. Clara held her breath as she realized they were rallying, ready to dive into the unknown. Still, Nathaniel loomed like a storm cloud, ready to rain on their parade. "You think this is enough? That nostalgia will save you? You're painting a pretty picture, but once reality hits, and it will hit hard, what then?" With fiery determination, Clara responded, "Then we face it. Like we always have, together. The beauty isn't in never falling, it's in rising again, hand in hand." Suddenly, the room ignited. People were rising to their feet again, echoing her sentiments, voices overlapping in a resounding chorus. Together. Yes. Suddenly, Clara caught sight of those familiar faces, each one a piece of the puzzle that was Maplewood. She could practically feel the heartbeat of the town synchronize with her own. But just when Clara thought the tide had turned completely, an unexpected voice broke through the frenzy, vibrating with challenge. "And what's your plan, Clara? What's next?" Clara's heart sank momentarily. She turned, realizing it was Thomas, a well-respected businessman, who had always championed practicality in the community. Though panic crept back in, Clara felt something shift within her. This wasn't the time to retreat. "I'll need help to organize workshops, ways to combine our specialties with modern practices, a community space to share ideas. We can reach out to local farmers, use social media to tell our stories. But I can't do this alone." The breath caught in the air again as the townsfolk looked at each other, a blend of hope and hesitation swirling. With courage, Clara made a final plea: "If we stand together, we can weave our stories with new threads. Will you help me find our way forward?" The weight of her question hung, ready to draw out an answer. Clara's eyes scanned the room, unyielding. The solid ground of her community stood where it always had, built on trust, laughter, and love, yet lingering tension sparkled like static in the air. Could they truly harness their collective spirit and move forward, or were they destined to remain ensnared in doubts? As Clara waited for a response, her heart raced in suspense, anxious for the dawn of a new chapter emerging just beyond the horizon. Silence enveloped the room, a pause heavy with uncertainty. Clara could see the toll of her words on the faces around her. They wore that familiar mix of hope and fear, like lovers standing on the edge of a leap. She felt every pair of eyes digging deep into her, waiting, craving a spark, a signal. Slowly, Mary spoke again. "Clara, dear, sometimes it just takes one jump, one step of faith." The gentleness of her words wrapped around Clara like a warm shawl against the cold. The crowd turned to Mary, their eyes blinking back tears, their hearts softening. Clara felt emboldened. "Exactly!" Clara exclaimed, her voice rising to meet Mary's. "It takes each of us to leap into this together. We have to blend old traditions with fresh ideas." She could see the cogs of thought turning. "Let us start by hosting a community potluck, sharing our dishes and stories. We'll gather ideas and plan our next steps there." The idea hung in the air, each person weighing it in their mind. Clara pointed to Thomas. "Thomas, you could help with organizing it, right? Your expertise could make it special." He nodded slowly, scratching his chin. "Maybe. But this is more than just a potluck, Clara. You need a plan," he warned, tone softening. "I know," she said, her heart racing. "But plans evolve. If we step into this together, we can shape it as we go. We just need momentum." "Momentum," Jake muttered, a smile creeping onto his face. "That's what we need." Like a tidal wave, determination began to sweep through the crowd, lifting the mood. Whispers turned to laughter, doubts to dreams. Clara saw hope sparking in their eyes, growing more vibrant by the second. "I'll bring my famous peach cobbler," a voice shouted from the back. "And I'll host a workshop on how to make the best pie crust." Clara grinned, sensing a shift. The energy burst forth, fueling the flames of collaboration. People began calling out commitments, their voices melding into a beautiful chorus of support. But then, suddenly, Nathaniel's frown cut back in. What if this doesn't work? What if the past is just gone? Are we risking too much? The room quieted, absorbing his challenge. Clara felt her courage flicker for an instant. But then she remembered the warmth of their gathering, the joy in their voices, and she felt that flicker turn into a blaze. "No. The past gave us strength, but the future offers hope." "Clara's right," Mary affirmed, raising her hand high. "Hope is what we must cling to. Challenges are just opportunities in disguise." A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd. Each moment Clara spent eyeing their reactions felt electric, stoking her spirit. "Let us put fear aside. Create a space where we can learn and grow," Clara proposed, the tone in her voice igniting that fire within. "We can thrive together as long as we believe it's possible." "I believe it is." And they began to shout out ideas, plans, and dreams. The storm cloud of doubt started to flicker, then shift, and slowly dissipate into brightening sunlight, their shared commitment illuminating the way forward. As the commotion settled into laughter and light, Clara felt gratitude swell in her chest. Yet, beneath that, a nagging thought persisted: would all their plans hold when the weight of reality pressed down? Moments flashed through her mind, the laughter, the hands joining together, the stories they still needed to weave, but just as she felt the rising excitement surge, a dark figure lurked at the door. Nathaniel, watching with an unyielding gaze, a shadow threatening to swallow their newfound resolve. He wasn't done yet, and this battle was far from over. Could optimism withstand the storm that was sure to come? Would their plans survive the very fears they sought to overcome? Clara's heart thudded as she sensed the upcoming challenge, asking her the ultimate question: were they truly ready to fight for their dreams? As Clara stood before the gathering, time seemed to stretch, the air thick with an electric charge. Nathaniel's gaze bore into her, every doubt he harbored reflected in the furrow of his brow. She could feel the atmosphere shift once more, sentiment solidifying into a delicate balance of anticipation and anxiety. What had begun as a warm spark of hope now felt slightly more precarious. "Are we truly ready?" Nathaniel's voice cut through the lingering laughter, each word emphasized with weight. "What happens when the excitement fades, and reality kicks in?" Clara's heart thudded in her chest. She knew what he was doing. He was pushing, searching for cracks in the wall of optimism they had just begun to build. And for a moment, she felt those cracks, too. The daunting thought lingered, what if it did fail? What if their dreams were only illusions in the rough daylight of reality? But Mary stepped forward, an arm linking with Clara's in solidarity, the warmth reminding Clara of their shared purpose. Nathaniel, we understand your concerns. But think about the community we can build. The connections we can resurrect. But at what cost? He replied, eyes narrowing. What does it truly mean to rally together when the foundation is so shaken? We've lost so much. What makes you think this will be different? Mary sighed, the gentleness in her eyes mixing with determination. It's about rebuilding. It's about finding meaning in what we thought was lost. We have to try. Her voice held the strength of 1,000 memories, echoing lessons passed down to her like cherished heirlooms. The crowd seemed to react, murmurs of agreement and understanding rippling outwards. Clara took a breath, grounding herself with the influx of support surrounding her. We aren't starting from scratch. We are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. She pointed towards the old photographs on the wall, images of joyous faces during community gatherings long past. Their laughter echoes even now. It's our turn to add our stories, to breathe life into this legacy. A flicker of hope lifted in Clara's heart as she looked around the room. Faces, once mottled with fear, now shimmered with the fire of possibility. They were together, hands joined in spirit, daring to hope for something more. Jake leaned forward, excitement dancing in his eyes. What if we invite local musicians? They could play during the potluck, mix in culture with connection. And what about art? We could showcase local artists, giving them a platform. Yes. Clara's excitement bubbled over. Storytellers could share history while we eat. It becomes a tapestry of us, woven through our hopes, dreams, and experiences. Laughter resurfaced, brighter than before, and the weight of Nathaniel's doubt seemed to lift, if only slightly. He shifting uncomfortably, torn between skepticism and the infectious enthusiasm that now surrounded him. As plans began to take shape, Clara felt a tug of fear deep within her, an echo of Nathaniel's concerns. What if their ambitions did fade under stress? What if the old wounds reopened? She looked toward Nathaniel, hoping to bridge the gap, to invite him into this blossoming dream. Please, she said earnestly, her voice lower now, appealing to his humanity. Join us. Help us build this. I know it isn't easy, but together we can find strength again. He hesitated, caught between the past and a flickering possibility of the future. Clara's heart raced as she braced for his response, wondering if he would hold on to his reservations or take a chance on faith on them. In that moment, their eyes locked, and Clara felt the room hold its breath, teetering on the edge of a decision. Would Nathaniel step into the light, or remain shrouded in doubt? The fate of their gathering hung in the balance, and Clara couldn't shake the feeling this was just the beginning of their story. What would be revealed next in their journey? And at what cost? The moment seemed to stretch, the air thick with unspoken words as Nathaniel's brow furrowed deeper. He was a man accustomed to skepticism, reluctant to open the door to hope. Clara felt the weight of 100 pairs of eyes on them both, the tension mounting, hovering between anticipation and dread. In that silence, Clara stepped closer, her voice almost a whisper. Nathaniel, I promise you, this isn't about naivety. It's about us, the community we once were, and could be again. We can't let fear keep us shackled forever. He looked away, searching the faces of those around him for reassurance, but finding only the earnest hopes reflected back. Was it possible to trust after so much loss? He hesitated, his pulse quickening. Amidst this crucible of emotions, Mary chimed in again, her voice steady. Remember the stories we used to share, the laughter around the bonfire? We can bring that back. Maybe it won't look the same, but it can be just as meaningful. Together, we can walk through that pain, hand in hand. With every word, Clara could see Nathaniel wrestle with himself, his defenses start to soften, crack like the very walls they stood before, symbols of their fractured past. Joining together doesn't mean forgetting, Nathaniel finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of agreement mixed with uncertainty. But it does mean risking our hearts again. I've watched people reach out only to find themselves alone. I need to know, how do I step back into this light, knowing what we've lost? Clara felt a surge of understanding wash over her. She stepped even closer, her voice earnest and calming. It's about finding solace in each other, Nathaniel. In those old photographs, we see the laughter that once bonded us, but those times are gone. They live here, she said, tapping her chest gently. Within us. We can honor their legacy by creating new memories. This new gathering won't erase the past, it will weave it into something new, something strong. A flicker of hope danced in Nathaniel's eyes, battling against doubt. He finally exhaled, and in that breath, Clara saw a glimpse of a decision forming. All right, he stated slowly, surprising both himself and the crowd. Let us start with small steps. I can help with the musicians and the stories. But I need to know it's not just a fleeting moment, that we're building something lasting. Joy rippled through Clara, showering warmth into her very core. She couldn't help but smile brightly, feeling the weight in the room shift as excitement blossomed anew. Yes. We can meet weekly. Planning and brainstorming will pull us together even more. Each heartbeat of this community will strengthen the bond we need. Laughter erupted once more, like a wave crashing on shore, washing away the remnants of doubt. With each idea that flowed, the energy shifted. They discussed how to incorporate games for the kids, maybe even storytelling under the starlit sky. Clara felt lighter, filled with the possibility of connection, waiting for Nathaniel's optimism to match theirs, yet deep down, a subtle doubt clung to her heart. What if they couldn't maintain this unity? What if the pressures of planning and expectations bore down too heavily, reopening old wounds? Still, as they all laughed and shared insights, Clara realized that the risks were what made it worthwhile. They were all stepping into the unknown together, unraveling the threads of their separate lives into one tapestry. As they wrapped up their meeting, filled with plans and ideas, Clara glanced at Nathaniel, whose expression was now one of cautious hope. Each heart present shared a beat of optimism, intertwined like the stories they wished to forge anew, but even as the future shimmered enticingly in front of them, Clara couldn't help but wonder what unforeseen challenges would arise as they ventured forward together. And what might it cost them all? The sun dipped low, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple as the meeting dispersed. Clara stood in the warm glow, feeling that emotional buoyancy. The laughter echoed in her ears, a comforting melody she didn't want to forget. Nathaniel lingered by the old wooden door, his expression still a blend of hope and hesitation. "Hey," she called out, stepping toward him. "Are you okay?" He turned, meeting her gaze with a mix of uncertainty and resolve. "I guess I'm still processing everything. It feels big, maybe too big." "It is big. But look at everyone, maybe they feel the same way. We all need this." Clara ran her fingers through her hair, her thoughts racing. "You don't have to carry this alone." Nathaniel shifted, his jaw tightening. The vulnerability in his eyes made Clara's heart ache. "I want to believe that. But what if it all falls apart again? What if they reject me when I reach out? We can't control how people respond. All we can do is be here, show up, and trust each other," she said. "Let us be honest, every step forward will come with its own risks. But don't let the fear of falling hold you back from trying." He nodded slowly, absorbing her words. Clara could see the seeds of change taking root in him, sprouting new possibilities. "Maybe you're right. I want to do this the right way." The right way starts with being real. Share your story. You'll see, that's part of the healing. Having one another's backs makes all the difference. Just then, Mary approached them, her eyes bright. "Hey, you two. I was thinking. Clara felt a warmth swell within, embracing the moment. Mary always had a knack for keeping enthusiasm alive. About what? Clara asked, turning to face her. About involving the kids in some way. Maybe they could take part in a talent show during our gathering? It would give them something to look forward to, something to invest in. Clara's heart soared. That's a fantastic idea. Encouraging them to express themselves could bring us closer, too. They've been through so much. Nathaniel furrowed his brow. What if they don't want to perform? They might feel. Let them choose, Mary interjected, a hint of mischief in her eyes. It should be their choice, and if nothing else, they can always be part of the audience, supporting each other. Remember how we rallied around each other in middle school? Clara chuckled, picturing their group of awkward kids cheering each other on during school events. You're right. This could be their platform. A way to dive into something fun and uplifting. The three of them stood under the evening sky, laughter spilling out in waves. Clara felt the barriers slowly lowering, optimism wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Yet, a shadow flickered in her heart. What if the kids found it overwhelming? What if this new initiative drew attention to wounds they weren't ready to face? Before she could dwell on that, Nathaniel surprised her again. I'd like to share a story. My story. I need to let everyone know I'm not just some guy hesitating at the door. His admission carried a ripple of electricity through her. This was the moment she had hoped for. That's a big step, Nathaniel. You don't have to do it alone. We're right here with you. As Clara spoke, her resolve deepened. She could sense a change in Nathaniel, one that could lead them all towards something special. Let's make sure we're ready. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Deal? Nathaniel held out his hand, a new light flickering in his eyes. Deal, Clara said, taking his hand firmly, feeling the warmth seep from him into her skin. Mary joined them, grasping their hands in tandem. The evening wrapped around them, the sky darkened, but it felt electric, charged with possibility. Clara breathed deeply, the air laced with a hint of promise. Could it really work? Could they rebuild their community? As they shared ideas and laughter, Clara felt something shift. But just when she thought everything might be all right, a sudden crash pierced the comfort of the moment. A distant rumble echoed down the street. What was that? Nathaniel asked, the comfort melting away, replaced by a creeping fear. A tremor of uncertainty took root within Clara, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone could challenge their newly forged bond. Would they be ready for it? Clara instinctively turned toward the sound, her heart speeding up. The warm glow of camaraderie faded into a cool, unsettling caution. The streetlights flickered, casting uncertain shadows where there had been warmth only moments before. What was that? She repeated, her voice steadier than she felt. Mary's smile had vanished, replaced by a look of concern. Maybe it's just construction or something? She offered, though they all knew it was more than that. The evening air was thick with tension, an unspoken anxiety lingering like smoke. Nathaniel took a cautious step forward, his curiosity battling against his fear. Let's check it out. We can't just stand here. Clara shared a glance with Mary, both girls weighing the risks against their common sense. But deep down, Clara wanted to uphold the purpose of the night, their pledge to show up for one another. Okay, but let's stick together, Clara said, her voice firm despite the quiver in her stomach. The three of them made their way toward the sound, their footsteps echoing against the pavement, a collective heartbeat in the shadowed evening. As they rounded the corner, Clara's breath caught in her throat. In the dim light, they spotted a group of kids, their faces lit up with excitement. Clara recognized them from the community center, the very kids they had thought might shy away from the talent show idea. But instead, they were gathered around a fallen tree branch. The boys were jumping and cheering while a few girls rolled up their sleeves, clearly preparing for an impromptu performance. Are they? Mary started, taken aback by the unexpected display. Making a stage? Nathaniel whispered, half in disbelief. The kids were laughing, tossing their shoes off to get a better grip on the ground. Clara felt the first stirrings of relief, a soft light blooming in her heart. Maybe this was a sign, an unplanned affirmation of the connection they all craved. Look at them go, she said, a genuine smile spreading across her face. Yeah, they're fearless, Mary chimed in, her eyes sparkling with admiration. But Nathaniel frowned, his brow knitting together in concern. This isn't exactly safe though. What if someone gets hurt? Clara understood his worry, but she watched the joy radiating from the kids. They were digging into spontaneity, giving life to the very idea she had feared had weighed down their community. Hey! You guys! Clara called out, stepping forward. What are you doing? One of the older boys turned and grinned, seemingly unfazed by their adult presence. We're starting our own talent show, he shouted. Simon, join us. A rush of emotions overwhelmed Clara: hope, joy, and an invigorating realization. They didn't just need a formal gathering, this raw, unpolished energy was exactly what they'd all been missing. What if this inspired even more? Before she could respond, the kids began to clamor around, urging Clara and her friends to take part in their play. They had taken the initiative, inviting their community into their world, something she thought would take far longer to cultivate. Nathaniel's expression shifted from concern to cautious interest. Maybe we can help them set things up, he suggested, his uncertainty giving way to excitement. Clara felt a surge of warmth at his words, a sense of togetherness blossoming. Absolutely. Let us create something with them, she replied. As they started to brainstorm, weaving together plans, Clara noticed the rhythm of laughter rising again, a potent reminder of the very thing that drew them all together. Just when hope began to fill the air, their fleeting joy was interrupted again by a low, rumbling growl. What's that now? Mary looked around in alarm. Clara's heart sank again as she realized this disturbance resonated differently. Something was stirring beneath the surface, something that could threaten the fragile bonds forming. Would they be able to tackle any new challenge together? What if the noise isn't just the kids? She thought, a tightening feeling settling in her chest. She steadied herself, gathering her friends close. Whatever awaited them, they had to stand strong. Maybe the children's spirited gathering was just the beginning. But what challenges were lurking in the shadows ready to tear them apart? As the rumbling growl echoed through the air, Clara felt an unshakable resolve begin to take root within her. There was an essence of courage in her bones, a drumbeat of hope strengthened by the laughter and energy radiating from the kids. Just as doubt began to creep in again, the children's giggles wrapped around her like a warm embrace, reminding her why she was fighting so hard for Maplewood. Nathaniel, we need to explore this together, Clara asserted, urging him to see the resolve she felt swelling inside her. They had been torn apart, isolated, and bruised by the very challenges they were now willing to face with this community. Why couldn't they lean into that strength? Maybe it's a coyote or something, Nathaniel offered, though the initial concern didn't quite mask the flicker of adventure igniting in his eyes. Clara smiled, squeezing Mary's hand. Whatever it is, let us be smart. Lead the kids back to the community center. We can brainstorm a new plan, give them a safe space to explore their creativity. She glanced back at the children, whose joy was contagious. They were rich with ideas, already crafting their performance on the makeshift stage of fallen wood. Clara couldn't help but wonder what would happen if they poured that passionate energy into something beautiful. All right, Nathaniel sighed, his features softening with determination. Let us gather them. They stepped together into the circle, Clara's heart soaring as she called out with confidence. All right, kids. Let us brainstorm what we want for our big talent show. We're going to help you make it unforgettable. The flurry of youthful energy zapped across the scene. The once springy tension began to fade, transformed into effervescence. Children clamored, their ideas spilling like confetti into the night. Music, dance, storytelling. As laughter enveloped them, Clara felt a lightness she hadn't felt in ages. Joy surged, filling her heart with warmth. As different groups of kids collaborated, the once strained walls around her heart started to ease away. But even then, she knew a challenge awaited. She could still hear distant growling, a reminder of the shadows they'd have to navigate to protect this newfound bond. "Everyone," Clara called, trying to hold the moment steady. "Let's finish this brainstorming session over at the bakery. We can get organized, plan a list of things we'll need. Then we can start to gather our resources and invite everyone to share their ideas." Cheers erupted, anticipation surging through the air as the children rushed to grab their shoes and belongings. Holding hands, Clara led the way to Peterson's pastries, feeling the palpable excitement rippling around her, the rustle of plans knitting together. Driven by purpose. As they entered the bakery, Clara took in the familiar warmth and aroma that had always wrapped around her like home. Suddenly, the ashes of doubt felt far away, the fire igniting to light the path ahead. The front door swung open, and the townspeople and even Nathaniel brought in flour, eggs, and sun-kissed fruits to help create the feast. "Let us show them that Maplewood is more than flour and water, we are heart, passion, and community," Clara declared, a smile creeping into her voice, but just as her spirit soared, a flicker of unease crept back in. Outside, the growling intensified, forcing a shadow over her moment. "Can't we just focus on the kids?" Nathaniel whispered, as he noticed Clara's growing worry. "What if that noise means something bad is coming our way?" Clara swept her gaze over the lively room, filled with excited, eager children, sewing the fabric of their community anew. "We can't let fear pull us apart. Talk to your kids, Nathaniel, bring some friends back. Let us build off of this positivity. If we face adversity together, we grow stronger. Let's treasure what matters right now." He nodded, eyes deepening with recognition. "You're right. If we acknowledge fear, we can face it. I'll rally support. Let us get everyone together at the community center tonight. We'll make it a celebration." As Clara watched Nathaniel's determination flicker into a smile, that comforting warmth enveloped her again. It wasn't just about baking pastries today, but about nurturing collective hope, feeding every heart with love. Within all the excitement and new plans, just beyond the realm of laughter, a sense of peace settled over the bakery. Merely a flurry of soft murmurs had replaced the distant growls as they moved into action, every voice blending into a harmonious song of trust and unity. Minutes later, the doors swung wide open again. Maplewood's residents began pouring in, bringing with them a renewed energy, eyes bright with belief. Clara stood at the center, excitement bubbled around her as Nathaniel navigated conversations, welcoming each warmth that surged into the room. And just like that, the past and present melded into one, the heart of Maplewood open wide to new possibilities. Clara knew the proactive spirit once buried in their shared fears was rising, energized by resilience. Clara looked over at Jake, who made his way through the bustling crowd, a radiant smile on his face. He radiated confidence, ready to embrace this new chapter. When he caught her eye, his beaming expression lit up the room, reminding her that change was finally happening. The battle still awaited them, yet the foundation stood as strong as ever, and as the community set to work together in chaos and laughter, Clara knew that this time, they were bonded under the shared belief that they could weather any storm. Maplewood was finally reviving, a testament to the love they had woven into the very fabric of their lives. With hearts united, they embraced the rising dawn together, ready to welcome whatever challenges lay ahead as they kicked off this transformative gathering, wanting nothing less than to shine brighter than the shadows that threatened to dim their light. And in that moment, wrapped up in hope and promise, Clara understood they were not just fighting for a bakery, they were nurturing a legacy built on love and community, and that was a monumental victory in itself. So, let this be your call to action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this unforgettable ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You, the true fans, understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait not even one more second to share.